welcome to another episode of A Drummer's Guide to. So, this week I would like to tackle a subject that basically is the difference between me having a dream of being a professional drummer and the thing that literally tipped me over the edge to actually get there. And that one thing, and the thing that has been a constant since I not found out about it. I found out about this a long time ago, but the difference was that I implemented it, and that often is the way. And it's been a while since I sort of implemented this for the first time. I continue to do it very often, usually against my sort of own fears and all of that sort of stuff. And that one thing that makes all the difference, that makes it basically is the difference between things being possible and then things actually happening, and that thing is taking action. Sounds like the most simple thing ever, and it is for me to sit here and say that. Just take some action. Yes, actually doing it is it's a completely different kettle of fish, basically. So when I was younger, obviously I started playing when I was 11 years old. I loved the drums from the second that I sat down. I was literally like, I'm obsessed, this is amazing, bah! But it wasn't until I was around about 13, 14 that I decided that I wanted to do it professionally. And I knew that, like, 100%, I was like, I'm going to do this. I have no idea how, literally none, but I'm going to try. And then from about the age of 14, around then, to probably, in fact, I should have worked this out before I started filming this. I want to say until I was about 21, 22, something, maybe even later than that. Anyway, 22, 23, 24, whatever. I tried everything to become a professional, basically, and to get up, not just to the standard of playing that I needed to be at, but also, get in the right mindset, get out and meet the right people in the right way. And the reason that I say in the right way is because I was obsessed with trying to be, like, trying to do things in the perfect way, which A, does not exist, and B, it's the stupidest way of doing things. I shouldn't be harsh to myself, especially my youngest self, but young Emily, incorrect is the answer. Incorrect. Don't focus on that. So I was, like I said, I was completely obsessed. I was obsessed with how I could learn songs as quickly as I could, but like by taking shortcuts. So I would try things like I would listen to songs whilst I was sleeping, because, logically that makes sense, kind of like learning songs, passively, or which I do, but not while sleeping. But all that would happen would be I'd get a really bad night's sleep, and then I'd wake up just going meh, and then I'd feel rubbish and I wouldn't do anything with my day. So it really was like counterproductive. Also, I was really, really good. Like, I could have been a professional procrastinator around that time, like, absolutely, especially after I left school, like from 18 to about 23, 24. The best procrastinator you've ever met in your life, like, absolutely. So I decided to go and see, he was kind of like a hypnotist who also worked with NLP, so neuro linguistic programming. If you want to go look up that's a whole thing, and it's very interesting for sure. But so I went to him. I was like, I have problems procrastinating, can you help me with that? And he did some stuff, and after that, for the next 2 years, I wasn't able to actually relax. It wasn't procrastination, it was relaxing. So anytime I would try and sit down, I would feel really anxious and really weird. So I'd have to go do something. There may be still elements of that session actually still within me. I'm just thinking about that right now, potentially, but I'm working on it. It's all good. But the thing that made a difference, and the thing that changed everything, it was literally the pivotal point of my career, from it being something that I was working towards versus something that was happening, basically. And the biggest instance of that, because taking action, what does that mean? I mean, it meant many things, and growing up I was taking action, absolutely. I was going to jams, I was playing gigs, I was joining bands, I was learning songs in the traditional way of charting and listening and doing all that. I was doing things, but it never felt like enough, and it never felt like I was going in the direction I wanted, but in a really strong way, if that makes sense. So the change that happened was, it wasn't just about taking action. I'd been doing that, and it had been working gradually. The thing that changed was taking massive action, and massive action is so terrifying. I still take massive action to this day. I'd say every year, or yeah, probably every year these days. I will make one massive leap of faith, if you like, and I will just go for it and just go, okay, just go do this thing. And it's always those big moments that have paid off for me. And the first time it happened, I was basically bullied into it. No, I wasn't bullied into it. My sister was at a jam that I had said yes to, because that was my little piece of action that I'd taken that day, and I had said yes, and I was at this jam night, and I got up and I played Best of You by the Foo Fighters. And I've told this story a few times, so apologies if you've heard this already, but I got up and I played this song, and I just played the song because I'd played the song many times before. It was a great moment, because you know when you're at a jam and someone calls out a song that you actually know, and you're like, yes, there is a God. It was a bit like that. I was like, cool. And there was some really some people there that I wanted to make a good impression on, which funnily enough I will come back to later. And it was just one of those moments where I was like, you know, the universe is being good to me, you know, all the planets are aligned. I wanted to make a really good impression, and now a song has been called that I know inside and out. And not only that, I know that I can do a good job because it's in my blood. Like I've been playing rock music for a long time. I've been playing that song in covers gigs. It all just fit, you know what I mean? And I was like, cool, this is nice. This is a sign. I love a good sign. So anyway, I just played the song and it went down really well and everyone was really happy. And my sister was there. And I got off stage and I went and sat with her, and she just said, so you need to video that and you need to put it out on YouTube. And I was like, what are you talking about? I had this real stigma about like drum covers, and at the time, I mean, drum covers are huge. Covers generally are huge anyway. But at that time they were really like getting some traction. I suppose they couldn't have been a new thing, but you know, they were still fairly early days. But I had this stigma, as I often have had for the whole of my life. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm so snooty. So I just sort of went, yeah, all right, whatever. And then she just kept following up with me. She was like, no, seriously. Like, on the night, she was like, no, seriously, you need to do that. I think it would be such a great showcase for you, because there's not a lot about you online. And I feel like if people can literally see you play and see what you have to offer, they're going to want to hire you, they're going to want to work with you. So I think you need to just do this. And I was dead against it for so long, and she, bless her, she was like, look, all you literally need to do is film it. You can set up a bunch of cameras just on tripods. I will edit it for you, because at that time I didn't have any experience, or barely any experience, of editing film or videos or whatever. So she was like, I will do all that. In fact, I'd actually really enjoy that. Now, my sister knows me so well. As soon as someone else is, like, relying on me, I'm more likely to do it. In fact, it's pretty much a sealed deal. Sealed deal? Yeah, that's right. I was like, that sounded wrong. It probably is anyway. So I just thought, oh, well, this will be a nice thing for her to edit and get her head around. I think at the time she was injured. She's an ice skater, but I think at the time she was injured. So I thought, oh, this will help her with something to do. So it was anyway, this amalgamation of reasons. And I was just like, okay, let me just do it. Let me just see. Anyway, and I planned to do it maybe a few days later. And I remember distinctly the night before I decided to film this, I had this thought. And I often have thoughts like this where I just thought, do you know what I've never seen? I've never seen a drummer playing in like fairy lights. I bet that would look interesting. I bet that could look cool. Yeah, I should do that. So that was how that came about, literally the night before. And so anyway, the next day, I got dolled up. I put on some nice clothes. I know I don't doll myself up very often these days. I wrapped myself in fairy lights and I did this video. And honestly, it was from that point that it was a real turning point. I mean, I'd laid a lot of groundwork with people before, but this was like one of those tangible moments where something happens and you look back and you go, that was a catalyst moment, that was. And that video was absolutely a catalyst. It got me so much work. It got me, the darkness called me literally off the back of watching that video. How many years later? When did I do that video? 2012, and they called me in 2014, I think it was. So yeah, 2 years later, and it's just one of those things. So anyway, that was my first instance of taking action. And then an interesting thing happens when you do something like that and you release it. And I was terrified. Can I just point out, I was terrified about releasing this. I felt very, very vulnerable. I only saw all the problems with it, all the mistakes. It was not perfect. Nothing ever is. And I still, to this day, I watch it back and I go, oh God. But I'm very grateful that I did it, and I'm happy that I did it, and I've got a lot of positive feeling towards that video. But at the same time, just me being me, I see the imperfection, and anyway, it wasn't perfect, but the point was, by putting that out there, it kind of lessened the fear around it. So just taking that one sort of moment of just going, right, upload, and then just seeing what happened. I mean, the reaction was incredible. It was just so positive. Like, the initial reaction was absolutely amazing. Everyone, oh, it looks so great, so interesting. There were a couple of funny comments, of course, about me being wrapped in lights. Oh, are you fairy? Are you fairy? Are you a Christmas tree? All that sort of stuff. Yeah, it was like, oh, okay, it worked. Do you know what I mean? It worked, whatever that means. So then I sort of did a few more, and then I sort of thought, actually, I'm not sure this is the direction I want to be going in. But what it taught me was, by taking that one piece of action, it made a big difference. And by taking that, it lessened the fear, and it almost normalized it slightly. So every video that I released, it got a little bit better, and it got a little less scary, to the point that actually I quite enjoyed it when I was releasing videos, being able to share things with people. So it's funny how your emotion around it changes it, but the thing itself, the action itself, isn't changed, and the reaction that you get from that. So that was my first sort of experience of taking that massive piece of action. So there have been many other times, but I'll just run you through a few other times that I decided, right, I'm gonna take this action and go with it. The first one, weirdly, was it was not these videos, but years ago. In fact, when was that? 2015, I want to say, maybe. I started this video series where I was talking to the camera called Ask M. And it's basically me just riffing and chatting and basically doing this, but shorter versions to a camera. And just, yeah, someone would give me a subject and I'd talk about it. Releasing the first one of that was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And to be honest, it was awful. Those first videos are awful. They're still on my YouTube, so please feel free to go check them out. You'll see what I mean. I even edited them in a way that meant that there were no there were no gaps. It was just very... And that was my insecurity. No, actually, it was half my insecurity. It was half because there was another YouTube blogger, vlogger, whatever you call them, who also did this talking to camera thing on a subject, and he edited out all the stuff and it made it quite choppy, and I quite liked it. It was kind of cool and it was kind of interesting. So that's the reason I did that. Plus then it meant I could get rid of all the ums and the ahs, but actually it turns out then I get rid of the personality that I have, because I am a very Ari, Andy, and looking all over the shop person. But that's fine, that's just me. But that was another bit of, I wouldn't say massive action, but it was a medium-sized bit of action. However, starting this series, massive action to put myself out there and feel like I am any sort of authority on any sort of subject to do with anything was terrifying. And it was literally, right, the first video I did, it was about tour bus touring, and I just thought, well, this is literally information, because I have toured a lot on tour buses. I will help people by putting this out. So I put it out, and the reaction was incredible, and it spurred me on, and I was just like, oh, maybe I can help with other subjects. And here I am talking about it. How meta. So that was another big action. I'll come back to that that jam night. So the people that I was trying to make a good impression on that night when my sister was there saying you should do that video was the musical, is now, was not at the time, is now the musical director for The Voice Kids, which I started doing last year. And had I not have taken that smaller action of going to that jam, which I remember distinctly getting the call for that jam that night because I was in the house band, and I remember being exhausted and I was just like, I'm not even sure I can do this. But then, you know, my friend who was running it just told me all the people that were in the house band. I was like, oh, I love them all. And then I was just like, do you know what? I'll just go do it. It'll be a laugh. And then when I got there, I was like, oh geez, okay, yes, there's some other people here that I've been wanting to sort of like meet for a while, and here they are, and it's like, oh my gosh, stress. So anyway, funny, a small action has then sort of like led to this, however many, that would have been 2011, so 9 years later, we get to work together, which is amazing. Equally, starting EmilyDrums.com. Oh my gosh, talk about massive action. It was a moment of sitting down going, right, what do I want to do next? I have this thing of just being like, right, when something finishes, what I ask myself is, now what? And at the time it was that I'd parted ways with the darkness, and I sat down with myself and thought, well, now what? And it was a series of questions of asking myself what I wanted to be doing, you know, where I wanted to be, what I wanted my life to look like. And the idea of EmilyDrums.com came up, and then it was like, I want to do that. Slight issue, no idea how. Like, literally, I know how to play the drums. That I knew. Everything else had no clue. So no clue about, you know, how a studio physically works, like the signal chain and all that sort of stuff. And then they, you know, forget about mics and preamps. All of that was just, whew, no idea. I was like, wow, that's starting from zero. And then I realized, oh, let's talk about running a business. Well, that was if mics and preamps were zero, business was like minus 3,000. It was just like really starting from nothing. But I just went, right, I just need to take this action and just go and start doing it. And I did. And 5 years after it's open, I mean, it's life-changing, absolutely life-changing. The same with my, well, I suppose this leads on from it, the remote recording business course that I put together. That was a huge leap of faith of just like, right, I want to help people to run their business now because I know how amazing it can be to have this thing, and I want to help people, especially with the pandemic, and, you know, people are turning to this. So I want to help. And it was like, right, I'm going to create an online course. How do I do that then? And it was like, I literally didn't know where to start. Literally no idea. It was this, the way I see it is like this massive ball of like tangles and just ideas, but to put them into some semblance of kind of order and then create something from that then can be taught to someone in a logical way. And as you know, I like a ramble, but no, on this course I was very specific with myself. I was like, right, it must be concise, it must be coherent, people are paying for this, so they must get the information quickly and simply and just straight down the line. So that's what I did. And I was so like, it's terrible. I don't like saying this everything about what I'm about to say sounds awful. I don't like to say nice things about myself. Right, that's the first awful thing that you should never say to yourself. So I apologize to you and to me, and that's fine. But this is the second thing that I'm really annoyed about. I'm really proud of myself, and it annoys me to say that because I don't like singing my praises, but I am. You know, with the online course, my goodness, I'm proud of myself that I literally just did it. EmilyDrums.com. I'm so proud of myself for doing that. Even for the Best of You video. Do you know what? I'm proud of myself and my sister for forcing me to do it. And it is those moments where you force yourself. Even getting the Voice Kids gig, the reading thing, I've spoken about it before. I was terrified, but I just thought, you know what? This is a massive piece of action that I can take, that its byproduct will be that I can learn to read to a really, really good level. And I have, and I can, and it's just like, it's opened up a whole world of new opportunities, which is amazing. Right, I've been going on enough at you. My advice to you, and it doesn't have to be some massive thing straight away, just take small steps, small bits of action, saying yes to something, or just doing something, putting out a little video on Instagram, just seeing what happens. You know, the worst case scenario, it doesn't go down well, you can delete it. Fine, no worries. But my next piece of advice, then try something else. I think there is definitely something about, you know, just trying things, see what happens. Okay, try something else. Okay, that worked. Do something else that's in line with that, but maybe a little more expanded. Or that didn't work. All right, let's try something completely different, you know, and just treating it more fluidly rather than, you know, I know a lot of people that get, you know, say that best of you video, for instance, they get this one thing and they think that once this one thing is perfect and it's out in the world, everything will change. And it might. But more than likely it probably won't. It might add to something else, or it might give back years down the line, like it did for me. Absolutely. But if you don't see an instant kind of catalyst, don't be discouraged. Just try and take another bit of action, and then another bit of action. Like I said, I still do it to this day. Like that course was the last big action I think I took. I can't actually remember, but honestly, every time I release one of these videos, I feel like I've taken just another bit of action, and it just gets less and less scary, and you end up actually quite enjoying it. Sadistic, I know. But yeah, I think that's the other thing. If you can get to a place of enjoyment with it and just treat it like sort of almost a creative experiment and just seeing what happens, and I'll be doing that with this video. And on that note, I should probably just shut up because now I really am rambling. But I hope you're well wherever you are, whatever you're up to. Go take some actions today. Just do something, and tell me about it. Tag me if it's like on social media. Tag me. Tell me that this is your action for the day. Love it. But yeah, if you have any questions or anything you'd like me to cover in a future video, please leave your suggestions in the comments. Yeah, I hope you're well. I hope you're keeping well and healthy and sane. I'm not, clearly. I'm healthy. I'm not sane. But don't worry, I've never been. It's fine. Okay, right. I will be back next week with another subject. I have no idea what it's about, but I shall see you then. All right, lots of love, you guys. See you later. Mwah. Bye.